Try to remember your second birthday, the cake, the faces, the presents you tore open. You can't, and neither can anyone else. For the first few years of your life, you were awake, alert, and learning faster than you ever will again. You learned to walk. You learned to talk. You figured out who your parents were and that you loved them. It was the most important stretch of your entire existence, and you remember almost none of it. Those years didn't just fade. Something happened to them, and the newest science suggests they might not be gone at all. This is called infantile amnesia, and nearly every human on Earth has it. Draw a line at around age 3 or 4. After that line, you have scattered memories. Before it, almost nothing. Maybe you're holding on to a single flash, a room, a smell, a moment of fear. But a real, continuous story of your own life doesn't begin until years after you were born. Here's what makes it so strange. Babies obviously do remember things. A 1-year-old knows their mother's face, remembers where a toy is hidden, and learns new words every week. So if a baby can clearly remember in the moment, why does the grown-up version of you have no access to any of it? The man who put a name to this puzzle was Sigmund Freud, more than 100 years ago. He assumed we bury those early years because they're somehow too raw to keep. He was wrong about the reason, but he was right that something systematic is going on. And for decades, scientists settled on what felt like the obvious explanation. A baby's brain simply isn't finished yet. At the center of memory sits a small, seahorse-shaped structure called the hippocampus. It's the part of the brain that stamps an experience into long-term storage. And in a baby, it's still under heavy construction. The logic felt airtight. No finished hippocampus, no permanent memories. Case closed. Except it wasn't that simple, because there's more to a memory than just recording it. To remember your life, you need a you to hang it on, and a newborn doesn't have one yet. Real autobiographical memory seems to need 2 things a baby is still missing: language and a sense of self. Most children don't even recognize themselves in a mirror until somewhere around 18 months to 2 years old. Before you understand that the person in the glass is you, it's hard to file an event as something that happened to me. And with no words, you have no way to tie an experience into a story you can replay later. That link between memory and story runs deeper than you'd think. Ask people for their earliest memory and the age jumps around wildly. Some say 2, some say 6 or 7, and it tracks with culture. In families and cultures that talk more about the past, that ask children to retell their day, kids end up with earlier first memories. Memory, it turns out, isn't just a recording. It's something we build out of words and retelling, which leads to an uncomfortable fact. Your earliest memory is probably part fiction. A lot of what we think we remember from age 3 or 4 isn't a real recording at all. It's reconstructed, stitched together from old photos, home videos, and the same family stories told 100 times. In studies, people will confidently describe a childhood event in vivid detail, an event researchers know for certain never happened. You're not lying. Your brain is just filling the gap with a story that feels exactly like a memory. Then comes the strangest theory of all. In your first years, the hippocampus isn't just growing. It's flooded with brand new neurons, more than at any other point in your life. That sounds like it should help memory. But researchers found the opposite. All that frantic new wiring may actually overwrite the circuits that were holding your earlier memories. Imagine writing a note on a whiteboard while someone keeps scribbling new lines on top of it. The note was never deleted on purpose. It just gets buried under everything built after. For a long time, all of these ideas pointed to the same grim conclusion. Those memories were never really saved in the first place, and then, in 2025, that story cracked wide open. At Yale, scientists pulled off something that had barely been possible before. They slid awake, squirming babies into a brain scanner and watched their memories form in real time. They showed the infants new images, then later checked whether the babies recognized them. And the hippocampus lit up. Babies as young as 1-year-old were encoding specific memories, the exact kind of memory we were sure their brains couldn't make yet. That single finding changes the whole question. If the memories are being recorded after all, then infantile amnesia might not be a failure to save them. It might be a failure to find them. The files could still be on the drive. You've just lost the way to open them. And there's real evidence those files survive. In experiments with mice, researchers tagged the exact brain cells that held an early memory the animal seemed to have completely forgotten. Then, with careful pulses of light, they switched those cells back on, and the lost memory came roaring back. The behavior returned. The memory had never been erased. It had been locked, waiting for a key the animal couldn't turn on its own. Now sit with what that might mean for you. Somewhere in your head, there may still be a record of the first time you stood up on your own 2 feet, the first face you ever loved, the sound of a voice that's gone now, years of a life you lived completely, the years that quietly built the person you are right now, sealed behind a door you can't open. We like to imagine memory as a faithful recording of our life. It's closer to a story, one that only starts once we have the words to tell it. Everything before that, the most important years you will ever live, is still in there somewhere in the dark. You probably didn't lose those years. You just lost the key. If these are the kinds of questions that keep you up at night, this is the channel for them. We'll see you in the next one.